Okay, so the next pattern I would like to introduce to you guys would be the inverse head and shoulders. Okay, the inverse head and shoulders. So what exactly is the inverse head and shoulders? So the inverse head and shoulders is basically the opposite of your head and shoulders pattern. Okay, and what does it look like? It looks something like this. So basically, imagine like a human, but you hang him upside down. Okay, so inverse head and shoulders basically represents strong bullish pressure. Okay, it basically represents strong bullish pressure in the market. So, the thing about inverse head and shoulders is the head must be the lowest point as like an upside down human, and the left shoulder and right shoulder is higher than the head, connected by the neckline right over here, where it connects the head, the left shoulder, and right shoulder. So it's basically a very strong bullish pattern. And how to trade it is similar to the head shoulders pattern, right? You trade it via the break of the neckline, right? You put entry at the break of the neckline, and you can start to open. Once you see that price break through the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders, you can start to open buys. You start to open buys. And where should your stop loss be? So similar to the head and shoulders, your stop loss should be under the right shoulder, right over here, somewhere over here. So this is the right shoulder, right, the support, and your stop loss will be under the right shoulder. Okay, so this is one way to trade the inverse head and shoulders. It's a very strong bullish pattern. However, most beginners or most amateur traders, it's actually difficult or hard for them to actually spot the inverse head and shoulders pattern in the chart. Okay, so my advice to all of you guys right there, right here, is if you guys can hardly spot the inverse head and shoulders, or you guys are not confident of what inverse head and shoulders look like, or it doesn't look like inverse head and shoulders to you, my suggestion is maybe don't trade the inverse head and shoulders. Okay, because the thing about trading is if it's not familiar to you, if you're not confident in it, right, then I suggest to you guys that don't trade it or don't use it to trade. Only trade on it in it if you think that you're very confident that it's going to turn away, or you're very confident on how it looks like. But if you're not confident, hard to spot, then just avoid it. Don't use it. So personally, I think that the inverse head and shoulders is how do I say, does not look like a very good structure at all. So I personally do not use the inverse head and shoulders to trade. However, other people love the inverse head and shoulders. Okay, because it's very, very apparent to them. So most of them use it. So for inverse head and shoulders, very simple. Okay, cannot spot it, then don't use it. Can spot it very easily, then maybe just use it. Okay, but the key aspect of it is just imagine it like an upside down human. Okay, just imagine it like an upside down human, and that's probably your inverse head and shoulders.